Welcome along to part 2 of our video tutorial where we are creating a shopping list app using Python code. In our first video we got as far as creating this main menu just here, but we don't have any functionality in it just yet. So if the user was to select a number from this list, say number 3, press enter, our program just ends. Okay, nothing happens just yet. So in this video we want to start adding a bit of functionality to the menu items just here. Okay, now before we do get started today, I do need to introduce you to a new word. It's used quite frequently in coding. It's called a function. Now functions in coding are basically a block of code that will only run when it's called up. Alright, that's probably not going to make sense right now, but as we get into the video I'm going to explain what functions are in a little bit more detail and show you how they work. Okay, so instead of me dribbling on about it right now, let's get stuck into our coding and I'll show you what a function looks like. Okay, so to create our first function today, what we're going to do is at the top of our code, just press enter a couple of times to make a bit of room. Okay, and we're going to create our first function right now by writing in def, then we're writing main menu as one word, we'll open and close a bracket, then we'll put a colon at the end. Okay, let me explain what's going on here. First of all, we've added in the letters DEF, which is short for define. So what we've done here is we have defined a function which is called main menu. Okay, now you can see main menu is just one word. Like a variable, we can't have any spaces in the name of our function. So it must be one word, and because I've got two words there, I've just put a capital M in the middle there to separate the two words instead of using a space. Okay, so I've defined a function called main menu. We just open and close a bracket and then put a colon at the end of that line. Okay, so now that we've got this function called main menu, what we need to do is we need to put some code inside of that function. Okay, and the code that we want to go inside of that main menu function is basically everything you've written so far except for those last couple of lines there with the shopping list. Okay, so you need to highlight your code from just here where it says display the main menu, that comment we wrote, all the way down to where it says you did not make a valid selection. Now once you've got that code highlighted, I want you to press tab on your keyboard, which will indent your code. That means we've pushed it across from the left-hand margin on the page there. We've now got a bit of space. And what that has done has put all of that code inside the function called main menu. So the computer is not actually going to run this code now unless we call up that function called main menu. Let me show you what I mean there. If I was to run this code now, you can see that our program just ends straight away and nothing actually happens. And that's because our code is all sitting inside of this main menu function doing absolutely nothing. Okay, we need to call this function here, main menu, we need to call it up and tell it to run. So the way we do that is quite simple. We just go to the bottom of our code, make a little bit of room down there, and write in the word main menu, open and close a bracket. That's all you need to do. And when the computer stumbles across this line of code, it says, right, I need to go back and find the function called main menu and process all of the code inside of it. So we go back up the top, it finds the function there that we made called main menu, and all the code that has been indented beneath it will be run. Okay, so let's run it again now, and you'll see that your main menu is back working like it was at the start of the tutorial. None of these selections work still. Okay, we haven't coded them up yet, but at least we've got our main menu showing up again. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the first item in our menu working. Okay, and again we're going to use another function to make this work. So when the user presses number 1, we want to be able to view the shopping list. Okay, so this is how we're going to do it. We're going to go down to our if statements section, so this area just here. And we need to find the selection where the user presses 1. So it'll be this one here. It says if selection equals 1. So we need to tell the computer what to do when the user presses the number 1. At the moment, we've got the word pass there. Okay, you can delete that. And what we want to do is we want to run a function that we're going to call display list. Okay, we haven't made this function up yet, but we will in just a moment. So all you need to write here is display list. Okay, that says now if the selection that the user makes is the number 1, then I want you to run a function called display list. Now at the moment, if we run that and type in number 1, we'll get an error, and it says display list is not defined. Okay, that's just saying we haven't created a function yet called display list. So we'd better do that now. Okay, so I'm going to go to the bottom here. I'm going to put it in underneath that shopping list, I think is where I'll put it. Actually, I might put it above it. That might be a better spot for it. No, I'll put it below it. There we go, we've got room. So below that shopping list, what I want you to do is write def, and we're going to define a function called display list. Make sure you've got the 2 brackets at the end and the colon there as well. So now we're going to tell the computer what to do to display the list of items in this shopping list. Okay, and the way we do that is we use a for loop, which we've done in previous tutorials. So we just write for I in shopping list. We put a colon. We're simply going to print I. So let me quickly explain that to you. The for I in shopping list, basically we have this variable called I. It could be any word or any name that we want there, but we're just going to use the letter I. It's just good practice. And that I, that variable, is set to the first item in the shopping list, which is apples. So at the moment, I is equal to apples. On the next line of code, we print out the value of I. So it's going to print the word apples on the screen. The code then loops around, and the value of I changes to the second item in our list, which is bananas. And it will print the word bananas. And it just keeps looping through that list until it gets to the end. So it's going to print all 4 items on our shopping list and then stop. Okay, let's just test that out. So you give it a run. And if we make a selection number 1, press enter. Just pull this up a little bit here. You can see that we have got apples, bananas, carrots, and potatoes being displayed on the screen. Okay, I think we can make that look a little bit better than what it is though. It's pretty basic. So let's make our app look a little bit nicer. What I'm going to do is underneath where we define the display list function, I'm going to add in an empty line by just putting in an empty print statement. And then I'm going to put a little heading. So this heading is going to say, let's do 3 of those minus signs. In capital letters, we'll write shopping list. And then close off quotation mark and bracket. And I'm going to also put the items in the shopping list into bullet points. And the way we do that is in the print section here, we're just going to put a bullet before the I. So I'm just going to, put in quotation marks, a little asterisk with a space, and close the quotation mark, put plus I. So asterisk plus whatever the item is on the shopping list. And if I run it again now and press number 1, I'll just move this up a little bit, you'll see we've got this heading that says shopping list, and it displays the 4 items in bullet points now. So I think that's a pretty nice way to view our shopping list. So that right there is the first item in our main menu here, coded up. Okay, so when we press the number 1, or we make the selection of number 1, we run a function or a little block of code called display list. Okay, and that block of code is just found down here. So when the computer sees that there, that display list function being called up, it goes down and it finds where we've created that display list function, and it runs all of the code that has been indented inside of it. Okay, easy, right? What we're going to do now is code up the second one. Okay, so what happens there? If we press number 2, we want to be able to add an item to the shopping list. Okay, so go back to the selection here where it says number 2 and delete the code that says pass. What we're going to do is we're going to run another function here. We'll call this new function addItem. And don't forget to put the 2 brackets at the end. So if the user selects number 2, we're going to run this function here called addItem. Now we need to go down the bottom and we need to define that function. So let's write def and we'll call it addItem, bracket, bracket, and a colon. Okay, now to add an item to the shopping list, we need to ask the user what the item is that they want to add to that list. So let's create a variable called item, and we'll say item equals input, so asking them a question. We'll say enter item you wish to add to the shopping list. Colon, quotation marks, brackets. Okay, now whatever the user types in, say maybe bread, it will be stored inside this variable here called item. Okay, we're going to use that variable now to add that item to the shopping list. So we write in the list name, which is shopping list. You can see that just up there as well. Okay, so shopping list dot append. Okay, the word append is basically adding whatever item we write in to the shopping list. Okay, so we attach that item variable to the end there in brackets. And what we might do is just print a message to just confirm to the user that we have added that item to the list. So we'll print a message saying item, which is the variable, item plus, and we'll just put has been added to the shopping list. Close those quotation marks off. So let's test that out. Okay, we'll give it a run. I'll move this up a little bit here. Let's make the selection of number 2, where we add an item to the shopping list. The question pops up, enter item you wish to add to the shopping list. So let's add bread. Press enter, and it says bread has been added to the shopping list. Okay, perfect. So that is working. The other thing that I might do in this video before we finish up is we might do number 3, which is very similar. It's removing an item from the shopping list. Okay, so let's go down to our if statements here. Look for the elif selection equals 3 part, and we're going to delete the word pass. We no longer need it. And we're going to call this function removeItem. Make sure you put bracket at the end. So when the user selects number 3, we'll run a function or a block of code called removeItem. Down the bottom, we're just going to write that block of code. So let's define another function. So def removeItem. Open up and close up your brackets and put a colon at the end. So now let's write the little chunk of code that is going to remove an item from our shopping list. Okay, it's pretty easy. It's actually very similar code to what we just wrote. We need to come up with a variable. So I'm going to call this one item. It's going to say item equals input, and just say which item would you like to remove from the shopping list. Oops. Put a colon, a space, and then close your quotation marks and your brackets. So the user is going to type in what item they would like to remove from the shopping list, and whatever they type in will be stored inside this variable here called item once again. Now from there we just need to write in our list name, which is a shopping list, and we put shopping list.remove, and we tell it to remove whatever item it is that the user typed in. Okay, let's put a little confirmation message in as well like we did above. So we'll just put in a print item plus, and then in quotation marks we'll say has been removed from the shopping list. Oops, close your quotation marks there as well at the end. Alright, so let's see if that code works. So if we give it a run and we make the selection of number 3, which was removing an item from the shopping list, so type in 3 and press enter. Comes up with a sentence saying which item would you like to remove from the shopping list. Let's remove apples, sorry. And it says apples has been removed from the shopping list. Okay, so that is working nicely as well. What I'd like to do quickly here is add in some comments. So let's put a comment above this first function that we created here, and we'll just say display the items on the shopping list. We'll put a comment above the add item function. So we'll just say add an item to the shopping list. And finally there, I'm just going to copy and paste this one. Above this remove item function, let's put in a comment that says remove an item from the shopping list. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to save that. So we've got the first 3 parts of our menu working. We can display what's on our shopping list, we can add an item to our shopping list, and we can also remove an item from our shopping list as well. One last thing I might do here. What I've noticed is as I run my app and make a selection, so let's say I want to display the items on my shopping list by viewing it, I'll type in my selection of number 1 and press enter. It shows me what's on the shopping list, but then it ends the program. What if I want to do some more things to the shopping list, like I want to add a few items to it? I don't want to have to stop and start my program continuously. I want my program to keep running. So what I'm going to create is what we call an endless loop. We're going to keep running our program constantly until we press that stop button. So the way we do that is we need to go right back to the top of our code here, and underneath where it says define main menu, I want you to type in while true and put a colon. And that simple line there is just going to create an endless loop. So now I want you to highlight everything below that all the way down to where it says make a valid selection again. You did not make a valid selection. I want you to press tab one more time. That's going to indent it a little bit further. And basically that means that the menu is going to be looped continuously over and over again, so our program doesn't finish up. Let's just test that out. We'll have a look. Okay, so I'm going to make the selection of number 1 to start with to view the shopping list. And you can see here it shows me what's on the shopping list. And then our main menu pops up again, and we can make another selection now. So maybe I can go to number 2. And it says enter an item you wish to add to the shopping list. So I'm going to add bread to my shopping list and press enter. It tells me that bread has been added to the shopping list. Okay, and then I can make another selection. So you can see now that we've got an endless loop. This program is always going to keep running until we press this stop button up the top. One last thing I might whack in really quickly is a bit of a gap above shopping list here. You can see that there's not much space and it's hard to tell where the menu starts and stops. So just above shopping list there, I'm going to write print bracket. I'll just test that very quickly. So there, I've made a selection number 1. It displays the shopping list. It puts a little gap and then it starts showing me the menu again. Okay, so that's looking good. I think I've talked a bit too much in this video, so I might stop it here. We have got those first 3 sections coded up. I'll come back in the next video just to get those last few sections coded up, and we will have ourselves a working shopping list app. So I'll catch you in the next video.